a bat, like a literal bat, came into the house for I don't know how I got into the house, but there was a bat flying around. And so we were all like, we had to like kind of halt what we were doing and be like, how do we get this bat out of here? So like for 30 minutes or something, we were all like chasing this bat around the house, which was pretty wild.
Welcome everyone to this exciting interview segment. Today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Kristi Murdock, star of the Lifetime movie Secrets of the Foundation. Join us at Survival Shows to know more about her insights into this movie and her world in general. Thank you for being here, Kristi.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, let's dive into your latest project. As I mentioned before, what drew you to the script of Secrets of the Foundation? And was there something about the story or the character that immediately clicked on you?
Yeah. Um, this movie is very different from a lot of other Lifetime movies. It's not your typical villain. It's not your typical story. Um, it felt, I don't know, it almost felt like it wasn't even Lifetime, like it felt more like it was a haunted house kind of thriller. And so I was really interested in it for that reason because it was so different than so many of the other Lifetime movies that I've done. That was the biggest reason. I was like, man, how cool would it be to, be in this beautiful like haunted house and just get to spend most of the time filming in this beautiful house and that to me was so much fun. It was so much fun because I watch a lot of like paranormal kind of haunted type of movies, and so I've always wanted to be in one. And so when I saw the breakdown for this, I was like, I've got to audition.
And, so, knowing more about the story, can you introduce us to your character and share what her emotional journey looks like in the film?
Yeah, absolutely. So I play Elena. I'm a mom. I basically have just gone through my husband has passed away from cancer. Um, it was pretty fast moving, and so he passed away really quickly after learning he was sick. And so living with all the memories of him, passing away and the house that we were living in, like my character really felt like she needed a fresh start. Like it was just too painful for her to stay in that home and to kind of be confronted by those memories every single day. And so she finds this steal of a house, and it's absolutely gorgeous, needs a little bit of work. But her dream is to open an Airbnb or a bed and breakfast, basically. And so she buys this home, and with the intentions of having her father-in-law and her daughter help her get it up and running as a B&B, as a bed and breakfast. And then they come to find that there might be another presence in the home with them. Not sure what that presence is or what it looks like, but it's certainly there and it's causing some problems. So that's basically my character and what takes her from like what sets the movie into motion.
Any particularly scenes or moments in the movie that were especially challenging or memorable to shoot?
Yeah. There was one that I really loved. And whenever I was watching the movie back myself, because I just finally watched it the other night, the ending scene was one of my favorites because I don't want to give it away for people who haven't watched it, but basically, um, my character has a full circle moment where, the whole movie she's like, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in ghosts because if ghosts were a thing, I would have heard from your father. I would have heard from my husband who's passed away. And she hasn't. So, at the very end, she has a very kind of quick but transformative experience. And I really wanted to make that moment really honest. And I wanted there to be surprise and love and um almost almost to the point where, like, when you're surprised and tears come to your eyes, because you're so happy and you're so surprised and you're so, like, you almost have the wind knocked out of you, but it's like in a beautiful way. Like, I wanted that moment to be very raw and very real. And I wanted it to come across on screen. And I felt like watching it, I was like, that was a really good moment. I really enjoyed that moment. So hopefully when the viewers watch it, they'll see what I'm talking about and they'll understand where that was coming from.
Great. And how did you prepare emotionally and mentally to portray the complexities of this character? Did you find anything surprising about her as you got deeper into the role?
Um, yeah, how I prepared. I every actor is different and how they prepare for a scene or how they prepare for a role or how they prepare for an emotionally heavy scene. Everybody's different. Some people use their own life experience. Some people use their imagination. Some people just purely go on a physicality and they're able to kind of bring up emotion and bring up tears by tapping into what crying feels like for them in their body and, like, maybe by breathing heavy or that sort of thing. I very much have to relate what I'm saying or the person I'm talking to or the situation I'm in. I have to relate it back to something that's in my life, and or something that is kind of similar, is colored the same, maybe not exactly the same, but very similar energy. And so, thinking about the times in the movie where I had the most emotion, um, uh, whether it be being scared, the panic that you feel like if I don't have a child, but I have a dog, and if my dog were to uh run out into the street, like that kind of panic, like like where your heart kind of stops for a second and a chill goes through your body, that kind of feeling, like I have to tap into moments where that feeling can be transferred into this imaginary circumstance. um and so also for times where I have to be extremely emotional and cry, I certainly I have a toolbox of things that I use, whether it be tapping into an old memory of mine that is very triggering, or and a lot of people would say that that's not healthy to do, but it works. And I think that's one of the things that I actually enjoy as an actor, because the the situations that are the most emotionally charged for Kristi, for me, I use them. I use them in this work, and I revisit them and I examine them and I put them under a microscope, and I relate it back and I use it for this character, and I heard a quote somewhere a long, long time ago that says, and I still remember this to this day, anytime I'm going through something very difficult. The quote is, "Someday this pain will be useful to you." And that is what I use it as an actor. All of the emotions that I have, all of that, that's the beautiful part. Even the bad emotions are the beautiful part, and that's what I bring to a role. And that's what every other person brings to a role, is their own set of emotions, and that's what makes them different than Kristi playing the role. Is the set of experiences that I've had in my life that color it in a certain way. And so, yeah, I use a variety of like tapping into old memories, tapping into past regrets.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I'll think of something like I'll use I'll find a sentence that's kind of like a mantra. And sometimes I'll say that mantra back, something that's very emotionally charged, like, "I'm so sorry I hurt you." And thinking back to a person that I really hurt. And I'll say that and until it elicits a response in me. And or I'll imagine worst case scenario, when nothing else is working, I'll imagine the worst possible thing that I could imagine. And in my own personal life, and I have to be extremely specific. I have to almost play it through my mind like a movie. And so all of this is happening while people are setting up lights. Um, I'm changing wardrobe. Uh, People are in my face, touching up my makeup and touching my hair. And so you have to have this level of extreme focus as an actor, especially for a heavy scene, because there's going to be so many distractions, so many. And you have to be able to kind of like tune it all out and focus on what's in your heart, and what is in your mind and what you're imagining. And you have to kind of like have this process of like fusion, of like combining the two. And so combining the character that's up here, and then combining Kristi that's here, and then it comes out as Elena, the character. That's kind of the best way I can describe like how I prepare for like the really heavy, emotionally charged scenes. Music helps a lot. I have like music that will, I think everybody has a song that will bring them back to a certain time or place or person, or um and we all have those things. And so I think as an actor, it's like it's kind of like mind mapping what your triggers are and where your emotions are, and you have to be so like kind of in tune with yourself, and um and be able to sit with really uncomfortable feelings and embrace them. If
Mm.
you're scared to cry, if you're scared to feel pain, if you're scared to um, revisit something that is really painful, or like, no, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. No, in my opinion, as an actor, you have to be accessible. All those things need to be accessible in your toolbox, because those are the things that make you beautiful. Those are the things that's life. Life is hard and crazy and messy, but it's also beautiful and colorful and contradictory and like complex, So, I know this was a very long answer, so but yeah, that's my
Inspiration.
process.
Yeah. And talking about the movie, without spoiling too much, were there any twists in the story that caught you off guard, even as a performer?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, uh, without spoiling too much, it's kind of hard to do that because I know the movie has come out, but I know there's people who maybe haven't seen it and they can watch it on demand on Lifetime
Yeah,
or other streaming channels like Friendly TV and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I think for Elena, it was certainly surprising to figure out what the presence was in her house um and then how to go about fixing it and remedying it. Um so yeah, that one's a hard one to do without giving it away.
the answer is yes. Yeah,
Yes,
yes, but we can't say that.
right, right.
So, in general, lifetime thrillers often explore dark secrets and psychological tension. How do you personally approach balancing vulnerability and strength in a thriller role like this?
Hmm. I think, you know, you have to have this element of surprise. Um, I think that's very important when you're actually filming any kind of thriller is the character had like Kristi, she knows what's going to happen. She's read the script. She knows what's going to happen before and after this, and you're filming everything out of order. So, as an actor, you really have to become really attuned with discovering something in the moment, whether it's something surprising or new information or something scary or something frightening. You have to be able to be surprised in the moment by something, whether even though you know what's going to happen, you have to kind of like forget it and then just move about, the scene. So that's one of the things that I would say, like for other actors or people that are just curious about like how do we film something like this? And I I was helping a good friend the other day with an audition for I think it was a thriller, maybe some kind of scary movie. And I say, okay, do you know how to like do like a jump scare? Do you know how to like make your body shake and like turn around like you're terrified? And she's like, no. And I was like, you're just like this. And she's like, oh my God, you're so good at that. And I'm like, you just have to like it's you have to understand like you have to pay attention what your body does in your everyday life when okay, for example, like the other day I was driving in traffic and we all have this happen where you get like 2.5 seconds from like rear ending someone because you happen to take your eyes off the road for like a half a second and you go and your body freezes and you're kind of just like oh my God, and you like have to swallow and you have to kind of recover for a second and you're just like and so you have to like pay attention. Okay, that was a scared moment. What happened in my body? Okay, like what physiologically happened? For a second, I tensed up, I slammed on the brakes, I kind of like blacked out for like a half a second and I held my breath. And then once I realized I was safe, I was able to like I was finally able to exhale. So like these are all kinds of little things. I don't know if other actors do them. I might be crazy. Another actor may watch this and be like, this girl is Looney Tunes. What is she talking about? But that's kind of just what I what I do to kind of prepare for a thriller um or something suspenseful because, I was telling friends, I was like, they don't teach you this in acting class. They don't teach you how to be scared. They don't teach you how to um, someone has a knife at your back and you're begging for your life. They don't teach you. There's no scenes that really like kind of go through. I guess you could maybe find a scene, but it's hard to practice that in acting. And I think that's just one thing when you're on the set, you have to kind of there's another saying I use a lot. You have to take the governor off. A governor is my acting teacher used to say this all the time. Sometimes when they don't want a car to go too fast, they put a governor on, and a governor is like something that keeps the gas pedal from going too far down into the vehicle. And so you can only go a certain speed. And he's like, okay, that scene was great, but I could sense you were holding something back. Like, let's take the governor off and just give it to me full force. I want to see you not holding back, not being self-conscious, not paying attention to anybody in the room around you. Just feel it and be honest. And I think that's really what you have to do when you're in one of these psychological thrillers is not be afraid of like, what does my face look like, making the scared face, like, because that's what we would all think normally. You just have to go in and not be self-conscious about it and be like, what does my body feel? What would my body feel in this moment? And you almost have to like gaslight yourself into being like, I'm scared right now. So
It's inspirational. So, um, about this movie, did you mentioned a little bit before, but we can explore a little bit more. Did you pull any real life inspiration or experiences into these characters, mindset, or relationship?
absolutely. I one kind of interesting thing that I did, I try to infuse myself, and I think a lot of actors do this, is you infuse yourself into the character. Um, because really what you're doing is you are playing yourself in these imaginary circumstances, as if I was a mother, as if I had bought this house, like how would I react, Kristi? How would I react in this situation? Um, so one thing I did to kind of give it a little bit of personality or personal touch is I asked the wardrobe department if my character could wear my boyfriend's like flannel shirt. Could I wear that in like to bed? Could I wear it over my pajamas? Like, and because I figured Elena, she would have a shirt of her husband's. She would absolutely have something of his that maybe she wrapped herself in and wanted to feel close to him and wanted to feel safe. And so I thought about, man, it would be really wonderful if I could bring something from my own life to kind of mimic that feeling. So I did. And so you'll see we're no longer together, that boyfriend that I was with in that movie, but you'll see in all of the night scenes, I'm wearing a flannel shirt and it was his. So it really helped me in that moment to kind of feel like that's what I was doing for Kristi, but I was also doing it for Elena, my character.
Understand what you say, and I think it's a good inspiration, and I would make to do this. Yeah. So about Secrets on the Foundation, how was your dynamic with the actor, your co-stars on set? Any behind the scenes moments that made filming particularly fun or intense?
It was a great time. I mean, we were in this extremely old house for a long period of time, and this house was I I have a feeling it was kind of haunted. One fun experience was a bat. like a literal bat came into the house for I don't know how I got into the house, but there was a bat flying around. And so we were all like we had to like kind of halt what we were doing and be like, how do we get this bat out of here? So like for 30 minutes or something, we were all like chasing this bat around the house, which was pretty wild. That was pretty fun. One of I had a really great relationship um with the gentleman who played Grandpa and Mark, his name is Mark Spino, and him and I we spent time together when we were not filming, and he's a very big fitness buff. As you can see in the movie, he's like jacked, like got great muscles,
Yeah.
very fit. Um, so him and I was like, will you go to the gym with me? There's a gym right next to the hotel. Will you go to the gym with me and teach me like what you do? Kind of like personal train me, like show me what you do, like what should I do for myself? So him and I we worked out together multiple times and man, I would go back to set the next day and I would barely be able to because there was these old wooden stairs. So you'll see every time I'm walking down or upstairs in that movie, I am in physical pain to the point where I can barely walk down those stairs, but I'm having to act like I'm totally fine because I went and I worked out with Mark and he kicked my butt so hard and I was so sore from the gym that I could barely move. So, any advice to fellow actors? Be careful who you work out with or what kind of legs you do if you have stair seams the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, change of subject, talking about your career in general. So, you have built an impressive resume in thriller genres. What was that a choice, or did you find yourself drawn to darker, more mysterious role naturally?
You know, I it's fun to do both. I've done very light and airy kind of characters where I'm in like a romantic comedy. I've done, you know, the darker kind of characters um or maybe not so dark. The character's not so dark, but the movie itself is dark and it's dark subject matter. And so this woman's kind of put into a situation that is not anywhere close to her normal. And so it's terrifying. Um, so I think that it's fun to do both. They're both very challenging. It's fun to fall in love on screen, but it's also really fun to be scared and both are a challenge. Both are I feel like every time I do a thriller movie, I'm always learning something. I'm always being challenged. I'm always stretching, you know, the bounds of what I feel like I'm able to do. Um, so both are kind of fun for me. I enjoy both roles probably equally. Yeah.
Great. And talking about the beginning of your career, do you remember the moment when you realized acting was something you wanted to pursue professionally? What what begins that passion?
Okay, well, um, so I live in North Carolina and where I live they filmed two really very popular TV shows that had like kind of cult followings. They filmed Dawson's Creek and One Tree Hill.
Yeah,
And whenever I was in high school, I came down to Wilmington where they were filming. I came down for, I don't know, maybe a week or so just to visit some friends. And I saw like filming trucks. everywhere. And I was just like, what is going on? This was my first experience of seeing filming happening. Um, so I saw these filming trucks and I asked my friends, I was like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, they film Dawson's Creek here. And I was like, oh, oh my God, that's so cool. I was like, they were like, yeah, you can sign up to be an extra if you want. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. So I go to Finn Cannon and Associates. They're a major casting director here in the Southeast. And at the time, they were doing extras casting and regular casting for Dawson's Creek. And so I signed up to be an extra. And they were like, "Oh, well, there's a scene tomorrow night. It's an overnight shoot. It's for like a frat party, kind of like toga party kind of thing, luau. Would you want to do an overnight shoot?" And I'm like, "Yes, absolutely I would. Thank you for asking." I was so gung ho about it. I went to the mall. I did a whole bunch of shopping for like outfits and then I get to set and I sat in a tent for a good 3 to 4 hours before I was ever brought to set. And then as soon as I got to set and I'm like looking at everything and I'm just so starstruck and I'm watching the actors and I'm watching the cameras on them. And it was like I had this like pivotal moment that where this light bulb turned on in my head and I was like, I want to do that. And it was literally just as simple as that. And I had never done acting. I had never been in a play in high school. I had never done anything. And I was actually, I had been accepted to East Carolina University and I was going to go there to be an art teacher.
Ooh.
And so I was gonna, because I was very inspired by my high school art teacher, and so I was gonna kind of follow in her footsteps. And then I went to Wilmington, and I discovered what acting was, and I was like, that's it, that's what I want to do. And so then I went back to my high school 2 weeks before the college deadline. I applied to go to college in Wilmington where they were doing all the filming and I got in. And it was like very hard to get into school notoriously. So I was very shocked that I got accepted 2 weeks before the deadline. And so all of a sudden, all of my plans completely changed. It completely shifted. And I came to Wilmington and as soon as I walked into campus and I met with my advisor, she's like, okay, well, let's pick out some classes. I was like, I want to be a theater major. And so she's like, well, you don't figure that out now. And I was like, nope, write it down. That's what I want. And so that's what I did. And my mom was like, don't you maybe want to double major in like business just in case? And I was like, nope, theater all the way. And so yeah, that was kind of what set me on my path to becoming an actor. And then all through college I did plays and I did voiceovers and then eventually once I graduated from college, I decided that it was probably if I really wanted to be serious about this, I should probably go to Los Angeles. And so that's what I did. I went out to Los Angeles. I slept on a friend's couch for about 3 months and I had like $500 to my name, which is not a lot of money. And yeah, luckily I had a good support system who helped me to kind of be able to get on my feet um and try to make it. Yeah.
Great story. Amazing. And so the last question, as usually for us, can you tease any upcoming projects you're excited about? Anything fans should keep an eye on?
Well, I did shoot one of the biggest roles so far of my career recently. It was in Atlanta. I can't talk about it yet, but I will say I am in 4 episodes of a new TV show that's going to be coming out. So, yeah, so that's very fun and yeah, I'm focusing right now on what are some things that I really want to do and roles that I really want to play that I haven't played yet. So I'm starting to be very strategic about what I submit for and what I audition for because I really want to try to stretch myself and try new things and play a character I haven't played and be in a totally new set of circumstances I haven't been in before. So, I would love, I just posted on Instagram about a week ago. I was like, I'm putting it out there in the universe. I really want to do like a period Western piece. I know Lifetime doesn't do any, probably doesn't do stuff like that, but I would love to play that kind of character. I'd also really love to play a down and out kind of character that's got some sort of very big struggle in her life, whether it be like, you know, homelessness or addiction or I don't know, just something very, very different, something very that I haven't done before. I just want to stretch.
So this is it. Make sure all of you to coach Secret Sound and Foundation on Lifetime platform. And thank you all for watching us. And thank you, Kristi, to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure as always, and really inspirational and fun. Thank you all for watching. Bye.
Bye.